Last week, I posted an Instagram story when I was at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, saying that essentially it was a disappointment for me. And the irony of me experiencing that and feeling that is it's right in the middle of two podcasts that I'm doing about realistic and unrealistic expectations that couples have of their wedding vendors. And so maybe I had unrealistic expectations for visiting the Greenbrier. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through that and walk you through my experience. I originally found out about the Greenbrier probably pre-pandemic, and it's this big, beautiful white mansion that is ginormous, essentially. It was built probably early 1900s originally, and then it's been a few things over the years. It was a hospital at one point, and then it was added onto, but essentially they have hotel rooms, they have ballrooms, they have shopping. There's probably 10 or 12 different restaurants there. There's a casino, and the decor that you see on social media is always amazing. It's very colorful. I know most of the decor was done around the 50s and 60s, and it's honestly, the decor is absolutely beautiful. And the rooms are also very colorful, very lively. And so that's what you see on social media, and that's what I've always wanted to go and see in real life. And I know, like, at Christmas, they do a huge tree right as you walk in. And then, of course, I'm sure there's small trees, whatever. So my mother has long lost family in West Virginia, and she wanted to go visit them. And as I started looking to see what else was around there, I realized we were only a few hours from the Greenbrier. And I was like, perfect. I've always wanted to go, but I didn't really want to drive, 5 to 6 hours to get there from, either Lexington or Monticello. So this was a perfect opportunity that we could add this on. And I remember the first time I found the Greenbrier, the hotel rooms were around the $500 range a night. And that's expensive. $500 for a hotel room for one night. I mean, $500 for anything is expensive. And I guess in my mind, I just kind of thought maybe it was still that price. Joke was on me. It was for the basic room, the cheapest room you could get for two, I don't know, it may have even been double beds. I'm not even sure if it was queen beds. So we'll say 2 queen beds just to be generous. 2 queen beds. And the cheapest room you could get was around $930 a night for one night. That did not include a $49 per night resort fee. And I think it was 9% tax on top of that. I think that put my total a little, maybe around $1,100. And by my total, the total on the screen, I did not end up paying that. I chose to stay at the Residence Inn that was 5 miles down the road for less than $200, and it was wonderful. And honestly, now I could not be more thankful that we did not stay there. So a little bit about my experience there. They have a bunker tour. There was a bunker that was built there, I think the 1950s, 1960s, somewhere in that range, and it was used. It would have been used had something have happened, nuclear maybe, for Congress, the Senate, some of those important people from Washington, because it's only a few hours from Washington, and they could either fly in or they could ride the train down and literally walk right into the bunker. And of course, nobody knew about this at the time, whatever. So they had a bunker tour, and my mother and my aunt wanted to see the bunker. So I was like, great, let me get on the website, let me make reservations. It's 2025. Typically, you can make reservations online for something that you plan to do. However, you could not make reservations online. You had to actually call. And was there anybody available 24 hours? Of course not. So I had to call several different times because I could not get anybody. I was calling when they were closed. And there were actually several activities on the website that I thought looked super fun. And this was kind of when I was going back and forth on whether we were going to spend the money to stay there or if we were not going to stay there. And they had clay pigeon shooting. I'm not sure the proper terms there, but you shoot the clay pigeons. I've always wanted to learn to do that. Like, you see that on TV, and they had an option where if you knew how to do it already, or there was like a beginning class and they would teach you how to do that, and you got so many with it, skis maybe. And I really wanted to do that, but you had to call to schedule it. And we all know I'm not going to call anybody unless I absolutely have to. And then they had like a pickleball class. There were all kinds of super cool things. So I was like, this would actually be a whole lot of fun. But you had to call to schedule it all. And also with the restaurants, there are dress codes. Every single restaurant has a different dress code. Some of them are very formal. Some are casual, and by casual, I mean like dark denim and a nice top. They are not like shorts, not flip-flops. Like, you have to at least like look like a decent human being. So they have expectations. And they cater toward probably the more affluent population, who is not me, apparently. Obviously, I should say. So leading into it, looking on their website, you would click the restaurant, and then you would have to click a different button to see the hours. And when you click the different button, well, it would give you all the restaurant names, and then you had to sift through it to see the hours. Then you had to go to a different page to see like dress code. It became a whole ordeal just to be able to figure out what you had to wear and what the hours were. And then guess what? You couldn't make reservations online. You also had to call to make reservations. We're not calling anybody in 2025. Nobody has time for that. It is 2 a.m. Let me make my reservation online. Charge me a fee. If I don't show up, just let me make my reservation online. Okay? So we get there, and our tour was on a Thursday morning at 9:30. So we decided we would go on Wednesday afternoon and kind of just see the property, see what it's like. And that way we knew where to go on Thursday morning. And then once the tour was over, we could head back toward Lexington. And online, it also talked about how there was an afternoon tea. Well, your girl loves an afternoon tea. An afternoon high tea with some little cucumber sandwiches. It's what my dreams are made of. But you couldn't figure out how to reserve it. You couldn't figure out like how it worked. I'm not calling to figure out how your tea freaking works. Like, put it on the website. Tell me how it works. Is it only for your guests that are staying there? Or can guests that are not staying there just come to it? All I wanted to do was freaking have a high tea. Whatever. Still don't really know. I know it's not like an official high tea like at the Plaza or anything like that. So I don't know. Regardless, so we get there, and of course, whenever I did finally call and get the bunker tour scheduled, they did tell me that parking was close to the Christmas store. Great. I'm really glad that they told me that, because there was not a sign telling me park here. So we parked there, and I knew that we had to ride a shuttle over. And my mom and my aunt are both older, and my mother is shorter than I am. And so think about shorter people trying to climb on like shuttles. Sometimes it's even hard for me because they're so tall. So it's not ideal for them to be climbing on shuttles. So ideally we would have handicap parking, and we would roll right up, park, or I can let them out. However, we did get on the shuttle, and the guy was super nice. He pulled it over to a little area. He saw us, and he was like, oh, let me pull over and make it easy for you. So kind. So we go over, and they drop us off, and there, I think, are 4 large doors right in the very front of the property. And you have all of the bell guys out there just kind of hanging out, and there's like one holding the door, and he opens the door for us. Do you think he said a single thing to us? He did not say, welcome to the Greenbrier, good afternoon, hello, nothing. I was like, oh, did the cat get his tongue? Like, he can't speak? Like, in hospitality, like, even like sometimes I say hi to people or I smile at people in public because I'm so used to doing that, because that's what you do. So we go in and we're just kind of standing there looking. There's no one in the lobby to greet you, which I kind of thought someone would be in the lobby to greet you. In my mind, if I were the one in charge, you would be greeted with some kind of nice little drink. Like the Glitz in Versailles, you get a little refresher drink. It's non-alcoholic. It's in a champagne glass with a little frozen cherry on the bottom. It doesn't have to be much. Welcome to the Greenbrier. Here's your drink. I mean, mimosa in the morning, different drinks throughout the day. I mean, would you not like to have a drink? So we go in, we're just kind of standing there. It's kind of like split level. So you can either go down to the casino or you can go up. And I kind of thought, being a hotel, there would be a hotel lobby right there. There was not. There was essentially an elevator and a walkway or steps down and up. So it's like, okay, we'll get on the elevator. So we get on the elevator. Of course, the elevator does not, it has different like buttons on it for like E, S, F, all these things. It doesn't tell you what's on each floor because, you know, signage here. Tell me what's on each floor. Tell me that this goes to the casino. Tell me this goes to the lobby. This goes to the concierge desk. This goes to hotel check-in. This goes to hotel rooms. This goes to XYZ ballroom. Whatever. I don't know if we went up or down at this point. We were just kind of browsing and checking things out. And we got off the elevator. Actually, we went up. And I was kind of looking around, and it was, like a happy hour type situation, I guess. Or people had gotten done with their like conferences and stuff that day, because there were a ton of conferences happening there. And so people were just kind of at the bar. Apparently there's like a chandelier from Gone with the Wind in there. And like I said, it was probably happy hour. People were done. But there was trash literally everywhere. Cups, plates, napkins, everywhere. Like, if you go up and get a drink and you wanted to sit at a table, you couldn't sit at a clean table. There was no service staff anywhere to be found. And even like at my birthday party last year, my surprise party, I was picking things up because I don't want things sitting there. I don't want guests to see that. And not that anybody dropped the ball. Like, we were just hanging out last year and having fun, but like, that's just in hospitality world. Like, if you see it, you do it. Or at least that's what I feel like, or that's what I do. So every single table that was around this bar area, there was dirty plates, dirty napkins, dirty cups. Like, you couldn't just sit down and relax per se. And so we kind of walk through and see it. And then we kind of go back out. And then at that point, I start seeing a lot of the designs that I had seen on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok. And so there's a lot of like couches and nicer seating. And this was probably one of the pictures that I had posted on my story. And I actually think it may have been from the lower level. I can't remember now. But the couch looked like something that they would give away at the restore. They're not even selling it. They're giving it away. It was rough. And I get that you're a hotel, you're a resort, but I also expect your furniture to be acceptable. Like, it should not be sagging. You should not be sitting on boards. You should not be sitting on the floor. And you should not be surrounded by trash. There's trash everywhere. At this point, I'm just completely baffled by this. And I have literally taken pictures and sent this to people. I'm like, look at this. Like, how is this even possible? So at this point, we're like, okay, it's time for dinner. And we knew that we were going to the Greenbrier at some point on this trip. We just weren't exactly sure when. So we had taken nicer clothes with us. But we didn't end up changing for a nicer dinner as we had originally thought we would. And so we needed something just casual. So there was a pizza restaurant. Perfect. We'll have pizza. Pizza Italian, you can always find something to eat there. And so we have to take an elevator to go back to that side of the resort. And people were checking in, and like I said, conferences were over. There was just a lot of people around in the lobby milling around. And this lady, she was 60s, maybe 70s. I'm not sure. She was older than me, but not like elderly per se. She's pushing her luggage and she is trying to figure out where her room is or where her wing is at, because there are 2 wings of hotel rooms. And she was asking an employee, which I don't know how she found one, but she was asking an employee just out and about how to get there. And the employee basically was like, I don't know. I'm doing the best I can to help you. And it was a very raised voice. It was a rude tone. And like, I whipped my head around. I'm like, did you just talk to a customer? Like a client, whatever they call it, a guest? Like, you just talked to somebody like that is paying at minimum $1,100 for a hotel room? You didn't say, you know, I'm actually not sure. Let me figure that out. Let me pull my map up on my phone, because some of us already had screenshots of the maps. So I know that they have them because I had to have one to navigate the place. So obviously your employees should have that. Or were they not given tours? Do they not know where things are at? Like, that's basic information. You should be able to tell your guest how to get from point A to point B, because no one there is going to know where everything is at in the beginning. And even after day 5, some of them are probably still going to be confused. And so she just like raised her voice at her. She was super rude to her. And honestly, I wish now I would have just stopped what I was doing and been like, actually, you know what? I'm happy to help you. Where are you trying to go? Because I had screenshot like all the floors, because I knew I would have to, you know, navigate. And so I wanted to have screenshots, but I'm also like, did nobody at the front desk guide her? Or like, how do we get to this point to where this lady's like having to ask for help when the front desk was literally 30 yards away at that point? Anyway, the world's not going to end, but she was super rude to her. And it was just discouraging. So at this point, nobody greeted us when we went in. There's no signage anywhere to be found. There's trash everywhere. The staff is being rude to their guest. That's probably the most annoying one for me. So we head to the other end of the property for pizza dinner. And it did say on their website that they needed reservations for there. And so when I walked in, I was like, do you have room for, 3 tonight? I was like, I know it said reservations only, but, I just wanted to check to see if you had any availability. There were literally, when we walked into this restaurant, there were 3 tables that had people at it. And 2 of them were larger, and then one was like a 4-top. And so I'm like, obviously they have room for us. So there's 3 standing there at their little computer checking us in. Let me look. Please look for us. And she was like, okay, let me get your name. So you have to give your first and last name. They also ask that every single time that you called as well. And so give them that. Then she's like, okay, what's your phone number? Freaking take me to a seat, okay? So I give her my phone number. And then it's, do you have any food allergies? I feel like we played like 20 questions. I don't remember what else there were, but it was a whole like 7 to 10 minutes of us standing there, waiting on them, answering questions before we ever got to go sit down. It was so dumb. Just take us to a seat. Like, and then what happens when we sit down? The server comes through and asks us every single question that the hostess had just asked us. So what was the point in answering all that there when the server is going to come through and ask? Food was fine. It was not life-changing. I would not go back there and eat. I ordered a Caesar salad and we split a pizza. The pizza was great. I wouldn't say it was great. It was good. And I was like, well, I'll get a salad to go with it. And it was the worst Caesar salad I've ever had. Which I didn't know you could mess up Caesar salad, but I guess you can. The dressing was just off. It was not Caesar salad. I'm sure they make it there. I'm sure some chef who was trained very well makes it. I guess I'm just used to like dressing from Walmart. I don't know. So They also gave you bread whenever you sat down. It was fine. I could have taken Fazoli's bread and been even happier. So when we got the bill, they did have the automatic 20% gratuity, which is fine, obviously. And then there was another like resort fee on top of that. I don't remember what it was now. So there was probably $15-ish, maybe more, fees on top of the pizza. So world's not getting in. It was fine. We ate there. We didn't have to dress up for it. So we head back out. And as I was mentioning, they have shopping there. There's actually a really good shoe store there. They had anything and everything that you could imagine. Of course, they closed at 6 p.m. And apparently I walked in at like 5:59. And I realized she was counting her drawer. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you closing? She was like, yeah, but we open at 9 a.m. And I was like, of course you do. So I left. I didn't want to be that person. And then there was the gift shop. The gift shop was your basic, boring gift shop everywhere. If you picture like a reusable tote bag that you would get at like Aldi, for example, where you put your groceries in it. It's not even like the ones that are like refrigerated, but are insulated. Just a basic tote bag. It was $13 just because it said the Greenbrier. I'm like, give me a 99-cent Aldi bag, but I just thought that was interesting. Whatever. So we take the shuttle back to the car, and our shuttle driver on the way back was super nice. And we get up the next morning. They tell us to be there at 9 a.m. for our 9:30 tour. Cool. So we get there. And then I was like, at this point, let me take my mother and my aunt over and drop them off at the front door, and then I will go park. So security guy, roll up. You have to go through security. And I roll up and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let them off at the front door, and then I'm going to go park. And he's like, yeah, no problem at all. Well, they're having, I guess, a car show. Well, somehow I end up in the middle of this freaking car show. I guess they were all like taking off at that point because they were all lined up there. I guess where like valet normally goes. They were all parked there. And I was literally like car 4 back. I was absolutely mortified. I guess I didn't realize that they were like all starting to leave at that point. Like I was just, there were shuttles everywhere. There were people everywhere. There were tour buses everywhere. And I was just trying to drop them off and get to the parking lot. And somehow I just ended up in the middle of all of these show cars. So we go back out, and I'm in the middle of them, and they're all turning right. And I need to go straight to get to the parking lot. And like people are like videoing these cars. And there's people standing across, like essentially standing in the parking lot videoing people coming out to turn right, because they wanted to video all these fancy cars. Well, I'm like blocking these people's like view because I'm trying to go straight, but I can't go because there's cars coming the other direction. I was so mortified and embarrassed, but whatever. I finally got across. And so you wait for the shuttle, and there's not any designated place to wait for the shuttle. You just wait. Well, it was a really pretty morning. It was a little chilly. So I had on a long sleeve, just a sweater and jeans. And then I had my Birkenstocks on because they're comfortable, and I knew we would be walking a lot on this tour. So I stand outside a few minutes, and like, man, I'm getting cold. I'm like, is this where I'm supposed to be standing? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I'm trying to like, there's no shuttles around. And I knew like even the night before they were running shuttles nonstop. We didn't have any problems with them. Like there were 2 literally in the parking lot whenever we got there waiting. So I kept waiting, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting cold standing here. And I was like, okay, I'm going to walk. And I, of course, mapped it out before I walked. It was not that far. It was maybe a half of a mile walk, if that, from the parking lot to the front door. So it's not like it killed me by any means. It was a beautiful walk. But it was more just the principle, like, put a sign that says, wait for the shuttle here, or shuttle parking, or shuttle wait, stop, whatever. Shuttle runs every 10 minutes. Shuttle runs every 15 minutes. Shuttle runs every 5 hours, whatever it is. Like, just give me an idea of how long I need to be waiting, because I can go wait in my car where it's not cold if I know what time the shuttle is coming. So I walk over. It was fine. And then once again, whenever I go through the door, actually, I may have opened the door myself that time. Like, me and the door people did not get along at all. And by not getting along, I meant they were not welcoming and they did not welcome me to the property. I think I did open the door because there were, like I said, 4 main entrances. And I guess there was one where they wanted you to go into, but I went into the one to the right of that because I didn't know that I was supposed to go into the one on the left, because there was no human standing out there telling me that one was the one I was supposed to go into. So I went into the one where the human wasn't. It's fine, whatever. So I go up and I find my crew, and we go into where we wait for the bunker tours. And they said to be there at 9. We were the first ones there. It was maybe a few minutes before 9, but honestly, the fact that I'm anywhere on time is a miracle. And they, I'm guessing, were maybe breaking down from an event the night before. I don't really know. But they come in, and at this point, people are starting to fill up this room. And they come in and they start vacuuming at like 9:15. I'm like, this tour leaves every single morning from this room at 9:30. People start arriving at 9. You could have waited any other time to vacuum. So at that point, like, everybody in there had to like stop talking because you couldn't hear each other. Is the world going to end because they're vacuuming? No. Would it have been ideal if they had have waited or done it beforehand? Like, it's things like that like, as an event person, you work so hard on making an experience good for somebody. Like, whoever plans the bunker experiences, they plan all of this out. And, you know, you don't want your guests sitting there listening to a vacuum when you know that they're going to be sitting there in that time. Or maybe that's just me. This is maybe I have too high of expectations. So anyway, so the guy that checks us in finally rolls in at like 9:30. And I'm like, so we had to get here at 9, and your employee doesn't come in until 9:30, which is the time the tour starts. So we really did not even need to be here until 9:30. Which I figured it was probably pushing a little early, but so then we all have to stand up and wait in a line, which lines drive me crazy. And we literally like single file line around this desk to check in. Well, whenever you called to reserve, you gave them your information, how many tickets you needed, and a credit card. And whenever they gave you information and told you to go like where to park, they told you that you could not take your cell phone with you. You could not take a purse with you, any bags or anything. They said that there would be a locker that you could put it in, but they recommended not bringing any bags with you. Okay, so I didn't take my bag. I didn't take a purse. I didn't take a credit card other than, you know, what was on my wallet or on my phone. And so he was like, okay, you know, what are the last 4 digits of your card that you use? I don't know. I don't know what card I used. I used whichever one that I had with me when somebody finally answered the phone. And so then he goes on this big lecture about how I should always have my card with me, blah, blah, blah. It was so irrelevant. Just say thank you for being here and let me go on. And to the people in front of me, it was a husband and wife, their son, and the fiance. Well, he made some weird comment and it made me uncomfortable. And it was kind of like, well, hopefully you're better than the last girlfriend or the last one or something like that. And mom was like, oh, you know, yeah, we love her. We're so excited. You know, she's going to be a part of the family or something like that. But it was just very much like, it was just awkward. Whatever comment he made, he did not need to make. He should have checked them in and moved along. So the tour was great. Our tour guide was amazing. Oh, and while we were standing in line to check in, we also have a whole container of clean plates that are right there beside us. Just the things that were like out and about. Like there was a server tray on top of a shelf, like on top of like a filing cabinet type thing there. Like there was just stuff everywhere. And I'm really weird about stuff. Like hide your stuff if you have to have it out. But like Why are clean plates beside 50 people that are checking in for a tour? I get it's an old building, but if you have the money and the capacity to do all that you're doing, let's find a place to put the plates. So our tour guide was amazing. I had read some mixed reviews about the bunker tours. I do think it 100% makes a difference on who your tour guide is. Ours was Richard. He used to be a high school math teacher. He was meant to be a tour guide. He was great. I would recommend the tour if you're in the area. If you're not, I wouldn't go all the amount of way to go for it. But since we were told it started at 9:30, the tour was an hour and a half. We had planned to be on the road by like 11:10, 11:15. Well, this tour started 9:45, 9:50, maybe even 10 at that point. So the tour was not over until 11:30. So at that point, like I was super annoyed. Like I'd already planned to be on the road at that point, and I was getting hungry. Shocker. And so they had this little coffee cafe, and like in the coffee cafe, they had where you could pick up sandwiches, like a chicken salad sandwich, a pimento cheese sandwich, like a turkey club, like random stuff like that. And like they've talked about how great this is on their website. And if you didn't have time to go to XYZ restaurant, you could pick up their chicken salad here, grab and go, super easy. And there's a little seating area across from it. I was like, perfect. I'm going to get some iced coffee for the road, and then I'm going to get a sandwich. I'm going to eat that here. That way we don't have to stop, for a while. It was 11:45-ish when we went to get that. Do you think they had any of that in stock? Of course not. Why would we have lunch food in stock at the cafe at lunchtime? Like, I mean, doesn't make any sense at all. Why would we do that? So that just kind of was the icing on the cake. I'm like, it's not that hard to service people. Like, they had pictures on the wall of people that had been there for over 50 years, or, over 40 years, 10 years of service, all of those. Like, so I know that at some point that they have been a good employer, and it's a small community. So I know that, like, they have to somewhat take care of their community, I would think, I would hope. Like, do we just not have enough staff at this point? Do we not have enough money for the staff? Like, where is the disconnect in the luxury item, the luxury property, the luxury experience that we're selling or representing versus what we're actually selling? And another really weird thing for me, like when you walk into bigger resorts and properties, like, or casinos, even like Belterra or in Vegas, you have these big luscious, like, floral arrangements. Like, they're beautiful. And I know a lot of casinos, they have, or, properties like that, they have a floral team or even just a florist on staff. Like, I guess in my mind, like, they would have that there. Like, if I'm spending $1,100 on a peasant room, the least you can do is give me a live rose when I walk in. Like, but all of the arrangements were faux florals, which really shocked me. I know that is a first world problem, but I really thought, at least in like the grand, lobby areas, that they would have live arrangements. They did have a wedding, like, tasting area, where I'm sure they do their tastings, or at least they're selling. It was a little newer and updated. It did have pretty carpet in it, newer furniture in it, because obviously they're trying to make money from weddings. However, when you saw some of the banquet rooms, and the pre-function area outside of the banquet rooms, the carpet had seen better days. It was disappointing. Like, it was filthy. It was trash. Like, it was rough. And it was bad. It was not acceptable at all. Like, I can get past having trash because it can be picked up and stuff, but how disgusting that carpet was for an event that you're charging, like, it was not okay. Again, first world problems, I know. But again, maybe I with the vendors that we have in Lexington and so many small businesses and like venues, and like seeing what the Hilton has done to their property downtown, and seeing the renovation at the Campbell House over the past few years, seeing City Center, like obviously these are smaller properties and they are part of a brand, but at the same time, they do a really good job of keeping up their properties. I expect at bare minimum for you to be at that level if you're a luxury resort. So anyway, that was my experience. Oh, and when I left, this just concluded it all. So at this point, it's probably about 12 o'clock, and I have not eaten anything because I was not hungry that morning, and I didn't want to drink coffee because I didn't want to have to go to the bathroom on this tour. And so I hadn't had anything. So it was 12 o'clock. I was hungry. They didn't have any food. And so we were like, okay, we'll have to stop somewhere on the way. Not a big deal. So we go out, and the shuttle bus was sitting out there, shockingly. Oh, and nobody said anything to us. Like I think he held the door for us, but he didn't actually speak to us. I don't think any like door person spoke to us the entire time. And there were actually, no, there were 4 of them standing there, and I opened the door, and because I made a comment, I was like, there's 4 of them standing there, and I have to open my own door when I'm leaving. First world problems, I know. So we go to get on the shuttle. Well, the shuttle is apparently a different shuttle than the ones we had the night before. And literally the steps on it were probably a foot apart. So there was no way, like, my mother, who is shorter than me, who has like a janky hip, can climb up on this shuttle. I'm like, hey, why do we not have marked handicap that is easily accessible? Because people coming to this resort, a lot of them are going to be older, and a lot of them are politicians, and people in Congress and stuff, we all know they're old, so like they're probably valeting, but whatever. So anyway, so I was like, well, I will ride the shuttle over, get the car, and bring it back. At bare minimum, there should have at least been a step stool to get up on the shuttle, in my opinion. Like I said, as a short person, like sometimes even the shuttles and stuff it's hard for me to climb up on them. So at bare minimum, at least one step helping you to get in. And so I got on it, and the guy was like, well, it's going to depend on who's working at the security, whether they're going to let you come in and pick them up or not. Like that attitude. And I'm like, oh, so you just told me you didn't want to tip is what you told me with that attitude. So I didn't tip him. That's the best attitude you can give me. I'm not going to give you a tip. And so he dropped me off, and I went back through, and the same security guard was working early that morning. I was like, hey, just coming to pick up my guests that I dropped off earlier. And he was like, yeah, no problem. Like I was so nervous on my way in because I was like, what if they don't let me in? How am I going to get them to the car? Like, as a guest, you should never be stressed out. None of that should ever cross my mind as to how I'm going to pick someone up or drop them off or making someone feel comfortable. You never want anyone to feel uncomfortable or an inconvenience or anything like that. Like, as someone in hospitality, you want people to enjoy their visit. You want them to have fun. You want them to leave with good memories. Like, and the property, the designs were great. Like, it was super cool. The interior, like the colors and stuff, like the lady from however many years ago that designed all of that, like it's beautiful, but nothing else matched up to that. So that is just my personal experience at the Greenbrier. Unless you just have a whole lot of money and you want to go spend it, probably would bypass that and do something else.